Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hello, this is Dr. Dave, and welcome to the next episode of Streams of Income podcast. And my guest, Chris Niemeyer, is an amazing guy. It's kind of weird. Chris, you're part of the what I call the Dan Miller Alumni Club. Some of my best friends in the world come from that alumni group, and it's weird because I don't think you and I have ever met in person at Dan's house or anything. So I've got a lot of Dan Miller friends, but I haven't met a lot of them in person. I'm even in mastermind groups with some. And so it's nice to finally meet you, at least digitally in person. We've talked a lot, but not like this. And one of these days we'll have lunch. But
that's right.
Go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself. And if you want to kick it off, since I referenced Dan a little bit, how did you know Dan and his influence on your life, that kind of thing?
Oh, man, there's a whole podcast episode right there. Well, thanks for having me, dude. It's a pleasure. And yes, you're right. Dan has connected so many of us. I've seen you and seen all your activity online for many years. So good to connect here. And like you said, we've called and text and messaged here and there over the years, but it's fun to connect here. Hopefully later in Florida this year, it sounds like maybe we'll get together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when I introduce myself, I'm like, hey, I'm Chris. I'm a real estate investor and business coach. That's really what I do right now. But more than that, I'm a father of 4, been married 23 years, love family and just the freedom and the flexibility that business provides to be engaged there and to kind of be all in within the family, unit. I think that's I know it's a passion of yours as well. And so that's just one thing where I'm super engaged in and want to make sure that anything I do in the business world can feed what I want to do as a husband, as a father, even their entrepreneurial adventures, which we'll probably get to later. But yeah, I've had a interesting career, a lot of different journeys. Had one job for 4 years, and I'm 44, so I've basically been an entrepreneur for most of my life, and and love that. I met Dan through a friend who my brother. So I was. Take a step back. My first business was a missions travel agency. So we were an online travel company specializing in mission trips, and then we expanded into trips for schools. We did study abroad programs, large group travel. And so I had a number of agents that worked for me across the country, and we were just very engaged in that religious 501c3 and those. Well, my brother at the time was living over in Uganda and working for Bob Goff. You may know the name Bob Goff.
Oh, are you fixing to do a Jared connection here?
That's right. Yeah. So it's
man, right. Bob Goff is like, his books they have a permanent place on my shelf. It's amazing.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. So John, my brother, was a student of Bob's at Point Loma Nazarene in San Diego, where we both went to school. And Bob just challenged him and said, hey, why don't you take a trip out to Uganda, see what you think? Maybe you want to do a gap year. And 5 years later, he was living full time in Uganda, being his country director there. But during that transition, he was passed off that role from Ilea, who's Jared's wife. And so, long story short, at some point during that time, Jared and Ilea became serious. She said, hey, my future in-laws want to come over here and take a trip and visit. And so I got this introduction email to a Dan Miller, who was just a name and an email address in my inbox at the time, and served them well. I think did another trip or two for them. David still had no idea who he was, what he really did. I mean, literally, I was just kind of that fast-paced, moving business where it's like, I'm serving this guy's needs and on to the next person. Well, we ended up developing a relationship. I looked him up and I was like, oh my goodness, this guy's written a few books. He's kind of known for a few things. And And next thing you know, we expand into doing large group travel on cruise ships and doing seminars at sea and conferences at sea. Well, he called me and said, "Hey, you've served us really well in the space of our travels in the past, and would you do our cruise group? We're thinking about taking the 48 days community on a cruise and doing a conference at sea." And so I said, "Sure, absolutely, we would do that." And at the 11th hour, the cruise got kind of big, and he calls me up I think it was about 10 days before the cruise left. And I was still in Oregon at the time. Cruise is leaving out of Fort Lauderdale. He says, "Boy, I don't know if you consider this, but we had someone drop out, and would you consider coming on the cruise with us, just sort of being our chaperone and kind of the cruise director, if you will?" And I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to." Talk to my wife about it, gave me the blessing to do so. And so I flew out there, and David, probably like you, when you first met Dan and kind of got in this world, it was like sipping through a fire hose,
Yeah.
just boy, these people and what I'm learning. Michael Hyatt was on the cruise. I think Aaron Walker was a speaker, Rory Vaden, a few others,
Wow.
and they're giving out books. And I would have said at the time that I would lean toward professional and personal development. This was a whole new world for
Yeah.
me, and so that sparked the start of that relationship. So sorry for the long answer, but that was
No,
a
that's
story to
awesome
get
because
there.
I had no idea you were Dan's cruise guy. I
Yeah.
always wanted to go on one of those, and of course now, I mean, Dan's gone, and so that's not going to happen anymore. But man, so I would have finally gotten to meet you in person on a cruise.
That's right. Well, we
That's
can
a
make
cool
it happen
story.
again.
Yeah. So you did the travel thing. So now your real estate investing is your main thing. So what's the journey from travel company, the streams of income there? I mean, but answer the hard question first though. Did you ever try any multi-level marketing companies? Because a lot of entrepreneurs like me, we've got those in our past at some point.
No, no, never did
Good.
multi-level. No,
Never sold timeshares, no multi-level.
none of that. Plenty
Yeah.
of friends that did and tried and I've been to many parties, let's just say that.
Oh,
And never, I just never wanted to go down that road. So gosh, boy, it's been an interesting journey. So my first career was actually in politics of all things.
oh,
I actually ran a large PAC, a political action committee in Southern California, but it was
yeah.
representing the business community, so the business interest of politics. So now that I'm out of it, I can kind of say it this way, but it was kind of your rich Republican fat cats, right? It was
Yeah.
the guys with the big checkbooks that would fund campaigns and lobby to a degree on certain fiscal issues, and so I
So
was
you
the
worked for
president of that
the
group.
Illuminati.
Yeah, yes, felt like a time maybe, but I was around all these great business guys. I mean, to be on this board as a board of directors, about 20 businessmen in the Southern California area, you had to be a decamillionaire, and that's part of one of the requirements. And
Wow.
so these were big business guys back in 2000, 2001. And as kind of their political hack, running the show and asking for big checks and connecting candidates and elected officials to these movers and shakers, I quickly realized after a few years, well, I'd rather be one of them than stay in the political world.
Yeah.
Because I'm out and getting to hang out on their yachts and go play golf at their country clubs and just interesting. But I was learning so much as a young 20 something, as a sponge around them about business, about operating businesses, about ways to invest and alternative ways to invest that a lot of Americans aren't really known as much. And so as I made that transition, one of my mentors, who I'm still in touch with to this day, he said, you can make a good living in three different main verticals in this world. One is real estate. So go be be the top real estate broker, be a developer, own a construction company, whatever, but invest in that vertical. Secondly, would be in the markets, in the financial markets. So go run a hedge fund, go be the top financial analyst, go, top 10 financial advisor in the state, whatever, and make sure you're investing in that vertical. And then thirdly, and he said, I think this is where you are probably bent right now at your age, is to become an entrepreneur, own and operate a company.
Yeah.
And so find, kind of like Dan, right? We talked about passions. Find what you're maybe passionate about, at least what you're interested in, what you're good at. And so my wife and I had that literal kitchen table experience of like, all right, let's put some into a napkin here and say what are we interested in? What are we good at? What do we study? Where do we personally maybe spend a little more money than most people because we've got curiosity in this area.
Yeah.
And that's where travel came up. That's where we both been involved in missions. And so we ran with creating this concept of a mission travel agency, and learning about building a business online, which was,
Yeah.
this was 2006 at the time. So pre-social media.
That's the olden
Um,
days when dinosaurs still roam the earth.
that's right, man. That's right. I mean, we had, it was funny when we knew this is the direction we wanted to go, and I hadn't given my notice yet. It was like, all right, we got to save up, save some money, get a runway to make this transition. So our date nights would be, a very cheap meal at home, beans and rice or whatever, and then we'd run out to Barnes and Noble and we go, all right, I'm going to the internet marketing section, and you're going to, yeah. And we just sort of cobbled, stuff together. And so fast forward over those years, we grew. It was all about relationships, and then online business, visibility, and served clients well. Started hired employees, kind of built up a team and an organization. And in the back of my mind, that mentor was there who said, if you choose one of those three categories, make sure you're always reinvesting profits in the other two.
Yeah.
Build a solid, three-legged stool, if you will. And so we started buying rental properties, I think, in 2011. So we got fortunate on timing. 2011,
Yeah.
2012 was kind of the bottom. And so bought a couple every few years. And then really right around the time I met Dan, actually, was when I also got invited to participate in a program called Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Initiative. And
Wow.
it's this kind of prestigious thing that it's a year-long program for an entrepreneurship degree, really, through Babson College up in Boston, where they share the same staff and faculty as Harvard and MIT, but
Yeah.
100% of their staff owns and operates a business. So
That's
it's
not normal for business school.
not at all. And that's why for 26 years running, they've got the number one entrepreneurship program in the country.
Yeah. Wow.
So that opened my eyes into scaling the business to a degree. That's when we started the cruise business as well, and hired more employees and all that. And then I got certified as a business coach because I'm like, man, I love what I'm doing. People are asking me, at church or elsewhere, like, hey, can I pick your brain about X, Y, and Z in terms of business and then in real estate? And so kind of made a business of that. And that was another new stream of income, was to do business coaching. And so that's just kind of evolved over the years until we get to COVID. And then maybe I'll pause there. And that's like kind of the cliffhanger of,
Yeah.
I had a travel company that was going great, and real estate and business coaching. And then boom, COVID hits.
Oh man. Yeah. So as far as real estate goes, I mean, we follow each other on Facebook, and so I see a lot of the news you're talking about. Tell us a little bit about the variety of real estate. I mean, it's not just single family homes, long-term rentals. I mean, tell us a little bit about like maybe where you've got stuff, what kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's been, there's so much within real estate, so many verticals you could go to within to diversify, which is one thing I wanted to do. And so, we started with single families, and over in the West Coast when we were there in California, and also in Oregon when we lived in Oregon. Moved out here to Florida. I'm in the Tampa Bay Clearwater area now in 2018, and utilized a great opportunity called a 1031 exchange within real estate, where essentially you take a property, or multiple properties, but you take a property, and let's say I sold that house for about $400,000. As long as I take all of that $400,000 and go buy at least $400,000 more, I don't get taxed on the profits. And so I went and I started reading about, out of state investing and the Midwest market, and just the cash flow that was there, and depressed areas, depressed pricing, and was intrigued. And so I started buying real estate and making connections in Ohio and in Tennessee. And so we started buying single families, duplexes, a quadplex. We did short-term rentals, medium-term rentals, long-term rentals.
Wow.
And so just kind of built up a portfolio there. Started doing flips as well. Kind of got fortunate on the timing there in terms of buying.
I've seen you and your kids all hands in on the flips.
That's right. Yeah, man. I want to teach them how to, handle a hammer. And so that was kind of a cool thing too. And getting back to the family piece is that every other trip or so, I would take one of my kids on a trip with dad and just say,
Yeah.
we'd fly up to Ohio or Tennessee or wherever. And it was some great one-on-one time. And also just very practically saying, here's what dad does when I go on these trips. And hey, bring a set of work clothes because we're going to get dirty this time.
Yeah.
I have one fun story. There was, we were renovating in an old historic district, and so you had to maintain on the exterior all the 1800s
Mhm.
doors and windows and all this stuff, and so the casings and really ornate doors. And so my son Noah, who I think was maybe 9 or 10 at the time, I brought him along and said, Noah, this old front door we're going to take off, it's got probably 6 layers of paint on it, and you're going to sand this thing for hours, man. He was like, okay, that's what we're going to do. And so he's just out there sanding and sanding, day 1, day 2. By the end of day 2, the neighbor next door comes out, and he comes up and talks to Noah, asks him what he's doing. And then he approaches me and he said, hey, I'm so impressed, man. This kid's a hard worker. Can I borrow him? Can he do my front door? And so sure enough, we talked. Noah came up with a price, and I lost an employee, but he gained a little business that day.
And so your son basically started his own handyman business while he's working for you.
That's right. That's right. At 10 years
This
old.
feels like a Mr. Miyagi story with the wax on, wax off.
That's right. Absolutely, man. That was fun.
Man, that's pretty awesome. And we homeschool like you guys do. And when I got speaking gigs, I would always take the boys would take turns, and I would take the long way. I never flew, always drove, and we'd turn a 14-hour trip into 2 weeks and hit up all the museums and battlefields and everything. And you're right. I mean, the one-on-one time, my kids will probably remember it more later, but I remember it. I mean, the memories with my kids doing crazy things, and it's so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. They will remember that. They will remember that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people that, have seen those kind of things that we do. And they're like, man, I still remember when dad or mom took me on a business trip when I was a young kid. And just, their eyes are open to a new experience. But to your point, it's really that one-on-one time that's precious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and seeing what dad does. I mean, so many kids, you ask them what their parents do for a living, and they're just like, I don't know. I'm in school all day. They're at work all day. I don't know what they do. And I would set my kids up at the back of the auditorium, and they would be my cameraman. That way I'd film my lectures, and they get to see dad doing his thing like as the expert. I mean, whether it's flipping a house, doing a speaking gig, whatever. I think it's amazing that kids actually see dad working and not just think that he's stuck in a cubicle all day, which to me, that would just be very sad.
I'm with you. I agree, man.
Yeah. So that's real estate. And lately I've seen you posting about laundromats and car washes and stuff. Oh, and don't ever forget, yes. I just saw you take a sip out of that cup. You got to tell me about the forge too.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, we'll do that too. So yeah. So I'm again diversifying. Diversifying in business, and again that mentor's advice is so key. If you can do it, whether you're in a job or you own a business, make sure that you take those profits and rotate them into other areas. So real estate, in the finance world, and if you can, in the business world, operating businesses. I just heard it said recently, like you can become a millionaire within the real estate sector, but you'll become a decamillionaire operating companies.
Oh,
and so that was really a good aha moment. I've seen that to be true in my own life. Of you can kind of fast forward some stuff in terms of financial progress within the real estate sector. And there's a reason why 90% of millionaires own investment real estate. So that's a good causation, approach. But in terms of what I'm doing now, I think especially in some of the markets that I'm in and reading the data and looking at historic trends as well, I don't see a lot of a huge upside like I have the past couple of years on some of those properties. And so I do see opportunities to take some capital off the table and invest it into other opportunities. Right now, we've got, and the numbers kind of vary out there, but in the next 10 years, tens of millions of boomers are retiring. And the biggest segment of business owners are boomers. And
Yeah.
so they're retiring and they're looking at how can I sell a business? Can I sell my business? A lot of times, right now, they're not passing it on to a son or daughter, family. And so I'm looking at opportunities to buy into businesses and operating businesses where, as much as possible, keep myself off the org chart and just be the investor.
Yeah.
That's a key in buying or selling any business. Keep yourself off the org chart as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, anything I can do right now that also has real estate. So that's why I'm looking at self-storage facilities, car washes, and laundromats are kind of my top three. And
Yeah.
I've been pretty active in looking at and putting some offers in recently.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, my dad, he's in his 70s and he's owned a construction business for like 40 years. And I grew up working in it. I still do a lot of the back end, like social media and stuff for him. And the thing
Cool.
is, though, that generation, the boomers, have his role there is the company. I mean, he can't
Yeah.
leave it because if he left it, who's going to be willing to work that much for that little pay other than the guy that started the company? And that generation, it's hard to step back for a lot of them. And basically, his company is unsellable because without him, it's not really a company. It's just trucks and tools.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
pretty
That's
awesome.
absolutely that's pretty standard right now. And especially a lot of those like home service type based businesses,
Yeah,
your constructions, your trades, subcontracting. A lot of times it is kind of not that it's a single operator, but he's really the one that's wearing all the hats. And
yeah,
you take that out, you really don't have much to buy. And so I'm trying to find opportunities there where there's already good structure in place, there's good processes, good people, and it's truly just more of a fairly passive. As you know, there's not a whole lot of truly passive incomes out
yeah.
there, but there are opportunities to really be in that Robert Kiyosaki quadrant, right? To really aim to stay in that investor.
Yeah. 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 You, as soon as you mentioned owning a company to become a decamillionaire, I thought of his quadrant first thing. Like, what is it? Investor, employee, self-employed, and then business.
Business.
But
Yeah,
you're not the business. It's the business, and you just own it.
yeah. Because if you are the business, then you bought a job, right? And
Yeah.
so you want to try to stay at that as much as possible. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Man, so we've covered a lot, and so I guess next segment, the cup you're holding up has the forge on it, and
that's right.
I sat in on one of your meetings that you guys invited me to, and it's pretty awesome. So go ahead and tell me about the forge and what's
Yeah,
going on
thank
there.
you. Yeah, so again, I've been a certified business coach for a number of years, and a good friend of mine, Michael McGreevy, we've been running together. Met through Dan Miller many years ago. He's also an executive business coach, and we've just kind of had groups on the side over the years. And about 2 years ago, we decided, you know what? What if we were to just combine our business coaching skills, but tailor it toward, because this is what we found over the years is a lot of our conversation with executives, with business owners would center around something underneath the surface that was related to their family, whether it was their marriage, whether it was with the kids. And so we just said, you know what, let's create this group, and we named it the Forge, that focuses on 4 areas. So self first, self leadership, just like we hear about in the airplane, right? Your typical thing: take care of yourself first, and then help others. So it's that in yourself, your marriage, your family, and your business. And so we just have gathered businessmen and executives that are wanting to engage in that area, to lean into all 4 of those pillars at once. Because here's what we've found: you've maybe seen this too in worlds you're in and mastermind groups or business groups. Some do it really well in business, or some you can join a marketing mastermind, or you can join a dads only group. But David, you and I know, I mean, we are created by our creator as these beautiful and complex creatures that are so integrated in all those roles. And
Yeah.
so yeah, you could be doing great in your little marketing group and great in this other group, but stuff is on fire over here. And so we wanted to create a safe space to talk about all those domains because if you think about it as a businessman, those are the hats you wear. You're a businessman, you're a husband, you're a daddy, right? And then you want to just lead yourself well in those areas to serve all those people, your clients, your marriage, your family. And so that's what we're
Yeah.
about. We do one-on-one online coaching. We do high-end mastermind. We've got another mastermind group that's online as well. So we're loving seeing kind of what is happening within guys' lives.
Yeah. There's a movie that just came out, The Forge, by the Kendrick brothers. I
Yeah,
took the
the
family
Kindred
to see it
Brothers.
last weekend. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, what did you think?
Man, if somebody were to make a movie that was basically nothing but an advertisement for your forge, it'd be that movie because I mean it was all about business and family and personal responsibility, and it was an amazing movie. I think it was the
Yeah,
best movie from those guys yet, and they've had some good ones.
Kindred Brothers are very good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still trying to find ways to connect and potentially have some kind of a collaboration there because it seems
Oh,
like it was a good movie that landed well with the tailored audience and just trying to find like what's the takeaway, what's the next step,
yeah.
what can I do to get involved in the to mentor some other kid or to just be like you, David, mentor your own kids,
Yeah.
the role that we have in their lives. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good movie.
Those guys need you. I mean, when they did the Fireproof, they had the Love Dare book and they had all those small groups and everything. And the Forge, there are so many dads that are going to see this movie and be like me, and you're like trying to choke back tears while you're watching the movie, and you're questioning everything you've done, and you want to do better. So what's the next step? So when they leave the theater, they should just go straight to you guys, and that's the
Yeah.
next logical step.
Yeah. Well, put a plug in for us. You're up there
Yeah.
in Georgia, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those guys, I've always wanted to just meet them and talk to them, but I mean, they're like high level now. But it would be an amazing matchup for you guys.
Yeah,
Yep. So,
absolutely.
all right, let's see. So, cryptocurrency, are you still doing stuff with that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So been involved in crypto. That's right. We've talked a lot about crypto over the years
Yeah.
too. So
So,
yeah, I
I got involved with crypto in the Wild West DeFi a couple of years ago with some projects and that went up and
yeah.
down, and
Oh
some
yeah.
of them, a lot of them, most of them rugged and stuff like that. And so now I'm kind of
Okay.
like a hodl, just a hold on for dear life mode with some stuff. And I'm in a few little projects like yield farming. So tell me what
Yep.
you're into because you've probably
Yep.
been in it longer than me because of some of your connections and stuff.
Yeah, well, I first bought some Bitcoin and Ethereum back in 2016. So
Okay.
just got in, was have always had 5 to 10% of my investable assets in quote unquote risky things, and so but I think there's a good risk reward symmetry there that you can pursue. So with that, I was also very conservative in terms of the money you put in, and I've learned this over the years. Whether you're looking at high flying stocks that could go up quick and down just as quick,
Yeah.
is to take your money off the table as soon as you can. And so when I jumped in, I think I don't know, I put like 10,000 or so dollars in, bought it, handful of Bitcoin, handful of actually several dozen Ethereum at the time. As soon as they doubled, I took my money off the table and I was like, all
Yeah.
right, house money, let's just let this thing ride, and but then over the years, and I still to this day, each week, I've dollar cost averaged for years. I just believe in the long term concept, especially of Bitcoin, with the scarcity and the really the if you look at that versus the dollar, right, in terms of inflation versus a fixed circulating supply,
Yeah.
there's a reason why it's gone up over time as it has. Sure, there's going to be hype. Sure, there's going to be huge swings, and as there has been. But so I'm still a huge believer in Bitcoin, Ethereum long term. I've got probably another half dozen or so that I like as well.
Yeah.
Um, Crypto
Yeah. I've got some
space and
stable
done some
coins that are
yield
dollar
farming.
cost average that I feel like Bitcoin. I always think Bitcoin's going to be the foundation of the whole thing, but there's like Ethereum and a few others that I dollar cost average just because they're going to be there operating the system and they keep going
Yeah,
up. I mean, for the most part, I
absolutely.
mean, there's swings, but the swing is generally always up.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever do any swing trading too?
No, no, I haven't gotten
Okay.
into that yet. I've been watching it a little bit, been curious.
Yeah, yeah. If you can understand a little bit of the nuances of swing trades and kind of what to look for in terms of moving averages, as you know, in the crypto space, can be so volatile that if you can find a couple that you like and just sort of watch for a few weeks, few months, kind of see where the trends are, where your support and resistance can be. Those can be fun to play around with, throw a few $1,000 or whatever, and just kind of watch 5-10% here and there, and
Yeah.
do it again. Just rinse and repeat.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I get a lot of people ask me about crypto because being in that world, you think everybody knows about it, but I'll tell people I'm doing this and that, and they're never even heard of it, don't know how to do it. And, I
Mm.
always tell them it's always don't invest more money than money that you don't have to play with, because
Yeah.
if you wake up tomorrow and it's still there, be happy. If it's
Yep.
not,
Yep.
it's crypto.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's
I
fun.
mean, that's why, and you probably saw this. I think we talked back in the day, but 20, so 2021, 2020, I got more engaged and continued buying more, was kind of a little more vocal too about it,
Yep.
especially Bitcoin. And then I started going to Bitcoin conferences, and a few of these. And there was one Bitcoin conference, I think it was May of 21. Um, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to just share a lot while I'm here. And just,
Yeah.
I was doing reels and lives and posting. And I'd say I had so many people reach out and be like, man, how do I get started? Like, what should I start first? What should I open? And back to Dan Miller, right? He was always like, hey, if more than two people are asking about something, you've got an opportunity, you've got a business, right?
Yeah.
So I documented a ton of stuff and had a lot of pictures. And I came home, and that next week I created a quick course, investing in cryptocurrency 101, put the course out there, very low price, sold, hundreds of them. And just
Yeah.
mainly to those people in my network that I knew and that were following what I did. But that's just a great way to, like, as you probably have similar conversations with people. Hey, tell me about this. How do I get started? Where do I yield farm? Which account should I open? And
Yeah.
what to look for.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's fun. It's a fun world. I mean, just people are afraid of it, and I think that's one of the things that makes me enjoy it even more. Is just the
Yeah.
uniqueness of I'm making money doing nothing for the most part. Sometimes, I mean, when Bitcoin's hitting 70,000, and I look at my account and it's doubled, I mean that's a good feeling.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. How about you?
So
What are some fun new income streams you're working on?
me, I am cryptocurrency related. A friend of mine, me and him are making NFTs, but they're utility NFTs. Like you
Okay.
remember how NFTs they just kind of exploded, and some people caught the idea, and it's like, okay, it's digital art, it's worth something. Everybody else is like, oh, I could just copy it. And then Gary Vaynerchuk got involved, and but we're making utility NFTs, and so we're selling those, and then we're using that money to invest in yield farms. And so it's the NFTs actually got value, and you get paid passively every month. I mean, I'm not managing. I've partnered with a company that's managing the funds, and
Yeah.
so I'm doing the art for it though. I'm doing delving into AI art, and so now
Okay.
as people come to him to create programs for their groups, they're paying me to do the AI art for the NFTs, and so it's a fun income stream that was totally just a hobby thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Harnessing your artistic passion too there.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I mean, the whole podcasting thing, this is all new to me. Ryan Rieger, another mutual friend from the Dan Miller Alumni Club,
That's right.
this used to be his podcast and his brand. And so he moved on to Unleashed and handed me all the streams of income stuff. And so I'm taking this over, and this will be probably within my first 20 podcasts ever that I've done.
Okay. All right. Very
Yep.
cool.
And Ryan told me
I
you
think
were on a very early episode of the original Streams of Income podcast.
I was gonna say, yeah. So I've been on, yeah, very, very early on.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's neat
In
how that just
fact,
keeps rolling
full
around. Like,
circle,
yeah.
full circle there. Funny is
Yep.
I met Ryan 20, I think it was 2017 or 16 or 17 in San Diego. We
Yeah.
were at the Social Media Marketing World
Okay.
conference. And in fact, it's just funny how these names keep appearing right on this podcast. But so I was there with Dan Miller, Michael McGreevy and I jumped in the car to go visit Bob Goff at his office, and
I'm
we're like,
really
hey,
jealous,
Ryan,
man.
we just met. Yeah, just met Ryan. Like, you should come along. He's like, who's Bob Goff? I remember getting Ryan's address and mailing him a copy of Bob Goff's Love Does book later that week. And Ryan's a great guy. Absolutely.
Yeah. So me and him are we're partners on some other businesses as well, like the passive income engines, that kind of thing. And so yeah, he's been great. And I got to know him through Kent Julian, who's also a mutual friend.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So it's amazing how this keeps going round and round.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So tell you what, tell me about your kids from the entrepreneur standpoint. I know I mean, your kids are not ones that are going to be lazy and sitting around the house playing video games all day, unless they're making income doing that. I can see them doing
No.
that, but what are your
Yeah.
kids into for businesses and stuff?
Yeah, well, so we don't have any video games. None of them have a phone. We don't have devices, all those things. So we're old fashioned, Laura Ingalls Wilder like that.
It's the
but
way to go.
but it is, I think, in this day and age, man. I think more and more I talk to parents are like, how did you do that? I wish I could take it back. But yeah, we've got, so I got two boys, a 15 and a 13-year-old, and then two girls that are almost 12 this month, and then 8 years old. The boys have done different, odd job kind of things. So they create a little business with a flyer and send it around the neighborhood of doing pressure washing and raking leaves. We've got these, massive 150-year-old oak trees in our neighborhood
Yeah.
all over the place. So there's it feels like never ending business opportunities there in the fall.
So the money
But
is
yes,
falling from the trees.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So in fact, Jesse just this past week was out doing someone's pressure washing job and wants to get more into that. He took a little break because he's played soccer, stopped playing, went into reffing because he was like, you know what? I know the
Yeah.
game. I can get paid to do this. So he reffed a little bit. And then our other kids got pretty busy with traveling quite a bit for soccer. So we had a mutual friend who has a coffee shop bakery here in town. So he worked there for a little bit and is doing that plus a little bit of entrepreneurial stuff on the side. And then Noah, who is our 13-year-old, lives, breathes, eats soccer every day, all day.
Okay. Is he the one that
And
has the podcast?
so he has a podcast. That's right. Yep. And so years ago, I guess when he was 11, he started a podcast interviewing soccer players, professional
Yeah.
soccer players and ex-soccer players and coaches just about their journey, and trying to learn from them. And we really took it actually as the whole idea was started as a homeschool opportunity, as a project. I was saying, okay, this kid still to this day really does not love writing, but
Yeah.
he is an oral communicator. He's an oral processor. And so he said, you know what, let's take that and then take the passion that he has of soccer and create that as his communications, his language, right, if you will. And so he just started reaching out to people. We had a couple of friends that were able to help him out, early on, and so he just interviews pro soccer players. And what's cool is, and you know this with mutual friends we have, is how your net worth is connected to your network, right? Yeah. And think of that from an 11, 12, now 13-year-old boy who has all these connections now from Major League Soccer clubs across the United States now, and USL and MLS, guys that are playing or that have played and now are coaching at different levels. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what kind of things could happen as a result of those type of relationships. And so we're trying to fan that flame, but hold it loosely too with everything else going on.
Yeah, man, that's pretty awesome. So what you may want to start doing, like the Bob Goff thing, is having your son send house keys to Ronaldo and Messi and some of these other guys and say, come on by, you can stay at the house, but the deal is you got to sit for an interview.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's awesome.
He's working on hopefully hoping to get his first Premier League soccer player, which would be a huge.
Oh man, you guys are in a good area too. I mean, you never know who might be coming through that area for other pro sports or coming to see the Buccaneers play or something. Or the Buccaneers, are they still in Tampa Bay?
They are. Oh yeah. They didn't leave when Tom Brady left. They're still here.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So coming to the end here, I don't want to keep you all day because I know you're a busy guy doing a million things. So the final question I always like to ask everybody is, if you had to drop all your streams of income but one, and you knew that this is the one that you could be happy doing it the rest of your life. Money's not really an issue. It's just you know that the rest of your life you could do this without getting bored and hating it. It could even be a new stream of income that you haven't done yet. What would it be? What would be your dream stream of income?
Dream stream. It would be real estate. It would be. I think there's just so much potential with it, and there's so many varieties within real estate that I don't think I would ever get bored. And I like the fact that there's so much to it between you can operate a business within the real estate side and kind of taking some of my past skills within just operating businesses.
Yeah.
Not just as a single family rental, but there's so much else inside the commercial space and others. But what it does too, for a lot of people don't think about this, what it does for your taxes is huge. And so any kind of thing when we're talking about income, like you can make a lot of money, but guess what? The government wants a lot of that money. And so how can you operate efficiently? And real estate does that very well by what you can do through depreciation, by 1031 exchanges and such. And so there's just so much potential, I think, long term with real estate to stay in that. It's why I think who was it? Will Rogers said, don't wait to buy real estate and wait.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always try to convince people, they ask me to list all my streams sometimes. And to me, tax deductions are a passive income stream because it's not so much something you have to do. It's what you do along the way. And all of a sudden you get all these deductions and credits. And it's just, I consider it a stream because it's an amazing way to save money and to keep more in your pocket.
Yeah.
And the more we keep in our pocket, the more we give to church, the more we give to people and serve others with. I mean, it's an amazing thing. Yeah. Well,
Very
Chris,
good,
thanks for being with us. And so what would you say is the main gateway if people want to experience all things Chris Niemeyer, see what you're doing, maybe find that cryptocurrency course, anything? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's just my name is my website. So Chris Niemeyer, CHRIS, Niemeyer's NIEMEYER.com. You can find me the same way on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. But I've got ways to connect, and I do have some freebies and some downloads and things like that. You can connect with me there.
All right, so everybody check him out there. And one thing I forgot to mention, the last thing is before we started recording, you and I actually talked about a real estate crypto convergence in a way with some of the title searches and stuff. So I'm just going to leave that as a teaser. If people want to know more about that, y'all need to get in touch with Chris. And I'll put his link in the show notes and everything. And Chris, I want to thank you for joining us, man. And I also commend you on that awesome quote behind you, the Teddy Roosevelt Man in the Arena poster. That's pretty cool.
I love it. David, thank you, man. Appreciate the time being here. Great conversation.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, guess what? The podcast is over, but I wanted to tell you about something real quick. I just published another book. My latest one is called Please Don't Take Me to the Train Station. It's a completely unofficial and unauthorized guide to doing business the Yellowstone way. So if you're a fan of Yellowstone, if you're a fan of, cowboy stuff, you need this book. Basically, I break it down and I take stories from the show and things like that. And every section is about a different business principle. Like right here, I just opened it to understanding valuation. In other words, what your company's worth, what your business is worth. The other page here is diversifying your investments. And I use examples from all the different shows, 1923, 1883, and of course the flagship show, Yellowstone, to give you all kinds of business principles and lots of things you can do, other than just burying your competition, literally, if you've seen the show. I'm going to teach you real business principles based on lessons from the show. So get a copy. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. I think you'll enjoy it. If you're a fan of the show or Cowboys or anything like that, I think you'll like it. All right. Y'all take care. This is Dave signing out.